and they've pinned up the other 3 blokes up against the wall. They've got hold of them quite like that, pinned them up against the wall, don't move and all that. Hi, and welcome to my channel. Now today's video is about these Dynaco A-25 speakers. They're these ones here, and we're going to compare them to the A-35s that I've got. I wanted these for a while now, since I'm getting these and knowing there's more in the range. You know what it's like, you get something, you quite like it, and you're always interested in maybe a lower version of it and an higher version of it, like something higher in the range, something lower in the range, and that's what's happened here. These are the most popular, the A-25s, apparently sold about 600,000 units. Come out in about 1970, 69, 70, 71, somewhere around there. They went on for, I think. And up until probably about a year ago, just under a year ago, I never even heard of this, mate, to be honest with you. It was kind of like something that slipped me by. Where I was born, by the time I got into hi-fi, these had gone, kind of thing. And going back then, when I was into hi-fi, it's always, I mean, like gadgets these days, you're always looking for the newest thing. You're not looking at something that's older and cheaper, maybe. I was quite a gadgety person back then. When I say gadgets, there weren't really many gadgets out there. Like at the time, I was, teletexting your TV, all that kind of stuff for colour TV, then teletexting the TV, then fast text, all that kind of stuff. I get the very latest in Nikon stereo and all that. So that was the kind of gadgets and the things that are about probably coming up into the 80s and whatever it was. I was kind of like, you know, always looking forward, should we say. I've never kind of looking backwards thinking, I've got, I don't know, a Nikon telly, let's get a cheaper one, it's going to save me money, all that. It was never the case. It was always looking forward. When the newest thing came out, the very first camcorder, straight into Dixon's, 1,500 quid, bought that. I was just a bit frivolous with money and didn't care. First PC, I had to go and buy a PC. Every console you can name I bought. I was that kind of person, like, you know what I mean, getting every game for it and all that kind of stuff. I was just crazy. I had to have everything kind of thing. I don't know how I managed it. I don't know how I did it, to be honest with you, but I did. I never had any money to myself. I just kept spending it on these gadgets. But you know what I like. So I'm never looking forward. So these kind of come and went. So someone said, oh, I'm surprised you never heard of them. But I didn't, because like I say, it's come and went and it's forgotten kind of thing. And bringing this channel up, obviously I'm looking for stuff, and you go back and you find stuff. I'm looking for cheap second-hand stuff, vintage stuff now, so they kind of come across. So that's that. So we're going to compare these. I think they've done an XL25 XL version of these, and I think the difference is, if you can see the gap between the tweeter and the main driver, here is a bit more of a gap there, and I think the XL25s, could be wrong, had that little bit more of a gap in it as well, like between, this is kind of near enough touching the driver, where the XL25 is just a little bit further apart. Now, okay, so I'm not going to take these apart. I did take these apart. If you want to go and check that video out, you can. These are going to be pretty similar inside, I think. The only reason I'm not taking that, this is all glued in here. I think it was glued in now, and I didn't realise at the time when I undone it, and I kind of prized it out, and of course then you're breaking the seal kind of thing. But I've got it all in nice and tight again, but I didn't want to do it for this. I couldn't be bothered really. I just wanted to keep it as is. I wanted to do the sound test, all that kind of stuff. So I haven't bothered. Just in case I wanted to sell them on or anything like that, I thought I'll keep them as is. I'm going to keep these, and I'm probably going to keep these. You're going to get all the drift of the story as we go along anyway. You don't want to spoil anything early on. But right, okay. So yeah, a few different amplifiers, etc. And lucky enough, quite a few of the amplifiers, I've got the AB on the speaker, so I can quickly switch across between the two of them, both on the fly, both live kind of thing. And I've also got the speaker select switch box somewhere that I use as well. So if an amplifier's only got one set of speakers, one output or one set of speakers, shall we say, I could flick between the two as well. So yeah, a few of my old vintage amplifiers I tried this with. Okay, so where should we start? Right, now let's go just to mention a few forums, because it's quite an heavily debated debate this, which one's the better out of these two. A lot of people bought these because of the price when they came out in 1970, 69, 70, whenever it was. I think there was 79, I've got a picture up on the screen, I could be wrong, but I think there was $79, something like that, and these were $119. So there's quite a big difference there. It's another 50% plus extra on top. It's a bit like going out and maybe these days buying the Wolfdale, I don't know, 9.1s, and you're going to step up to the 12.2s or something like that. You know, you're just moving up another grade kind of thing. You're moving up in a speaker level kind of thing, and a lot of people did for extra money. You know, still would have been a reasonable amount of money back then. I think putting it in the calculator was about 400 quid. Here in the UK, that would have been worth back then, and this would have worked out about 600. So you're paying the extra on top kind of thing. So obviously, if you're on a tight budget, like most people probably were, back then, that you're going to get the cheaper out of the two, especially when they got good reviews as well. Once good reviews started coming, a bit like the NAD 3020 amplifier, once all them good reviews coming in, you weren't looking for anything any higher in the bracket kind of thing. You just thought, this is the one, get this one, I can afford it, and you know, everyone seems to rate it, and I think that's what was the case with these compared to these. These are probably not lesser known because obviously you can buy them, but a lot less people bought these ones. So yeah, okay, so I want to start off with the, like I say, I don't need comparison A-B, backwards and forwards quite a bit, like, and yeah, going back to them forums very, very quickly. It's a bit divided. Some people like this one, and some people like this. This is the only reason I mentioned that forums. It is divided, and then you've got some people on there. You can read, if you go on these forums, you can read people like they're asking, I've got the A-25s, how they compare to the A-35, and you know full well a few people come up there that poke up and they never even listen to the A-35s, and just because they've got the A-25s, they want to say, oh no, these are better, or these are better, or whatever, that kind of thing. You can kind of gather that by somebody, you know, if you read a few forums, you can read into things that people probably even listen to them, like, you know what I mean. But anyway, it's just my faults anyway. Okay, so right. Yeah, what should I start? It's quite a bit to talk about really. So we're going to talk about the bass on these two speakers. Like I say, going back to them forums, people seem to think this had more bottom end, more bass. It's a bigger unit. It's going to have more bass. This is kind of ported. It's a special kind of port. It's all filled with foam and everything, but it is kind of like something happens here. I'm not too sure what it's called. It's a special port. So it's not a sealed unit as such, shall we say. So yeah, some people seem to think this had more bass, a deeper bass, shall we say, than this. But what I would say is that on the pair I've got, I'm only going by the pair I've got here as I do all my reviews. None of these have been recapped. It may change slightly if I did decide to recap them, but I'm happy enough with what they are at the moment. I'll probably come to that later on, but there's no rush as normal now. Like I say, you know, I've took a step back kind of thing. But I thought this went a little bit deeper, to be honest with you. I thought the bass on this went a little bit deeper, but it wasn't as detailed as this. This had more detail, more space, could breathe more easier. The bass here had the more detail, but this, to me, this went a little bit deeper. There wasn't a vast amount in it, but this went a little bit more deeper. But this had a bit more space around it, and it wasn't so forward. This speaker here is a more forward sounding speaker than this one, and maybe you would call it a more lively sound speaker than this one. I still found, on a few reviews, people seem to say this was too laid back kind of thing, you know what I mean? It's too laid back kind of speaker, but I found it okay. I think it's okay. I don't think it's really laid back. When you compare it to this, it is laid back. Like, this is a more forward sounding speaker. So if I take, for instance, I listened to Blondie Dreaming, and a lot of drumming there, like going around the kit, Clem Burke going around the kit there. It's more punchy on this one. It's a bit more punchy on this one, but you're not getting the definition. You know what I mean? The drumming sounds better on this pair of speakers than this. It's not a vast amount, but there is a difference there. But this does sound better. But a few little drawbacks there is that he sounds a bit further, deeper in the in the sound stage. He's a bit more back. You know, he's behind Debbie kind of thing. He's in the back, but you can sense that kit. You can see that kit more clearly than you can with this speaker here. You can actually see Clem playing, going around that kit kind of thing. You can imagine that quite easy with this compared to this, and this just gives, it's got that more of a decay to it when he's going around the kit. The drums are not so sharp, they're not so taut kind of thing, and this, you can kind of feel that bass drum. And then toms, you can kind of feel the structure, not the structure, you can see like it's hard to explain this. You can kind of like, my brother playing drums, so I know what drums sound like. I've got a good indentation of what a live drum or drum sound like, we call it, whatever, because my brother plays drums. And I've listened to it for years, so I know what they sound kind of thing. They sound better here. You can kind of imagine, you can sense that, you can see that tom, that size of that tom. You can see the size of that tom and the size of that bass drum more clearly here than you can with this speaker here. I thought, like I say, it's a bit more tighter, tauter. It may, you know, some people like that, but I just wanted to get it where it breathed a bit more. And it does breathe a bit more here, and it's pretty much the same with everything. This speaker, you know, more breath to it. There's more space, more freedom with this speaker than there is with this A-25. So that's that. That's the bass. Yeah, I'm not going to go too far into it, but I just want to give the thing, because these are both good speakers. You know what I mean? They're both good speakers. In my eyes, I haven't paid a lot for these. I didn't mention the prices here. I paid £25 for the pair of these, and I paid £50 for the pair of these. So I've got them cheap really to what they do go for. They don't go for a vast amount more. I think this goes for a couple of hundred, probably the pair go for a couple of £100 thereabouts each. If you want to go and try and find a pair now kind of thing, you can get lucky obviously like I've done. But yeah, you know, for the money, I think these, you know, especially what I paid for them, I've got me sort of decent sets of speakers. I know they're old, but they fit in well with all my old stuff. You know what I mean? They fit in well down here with all this. So let's go to the mid-range. Like I say, this is more of a forward. The singer's more forward here, the vocalist. The instruments are more forward with this A-25. They're a bit more laid back, but I don't think they're too far laid back, but they are a bit more laid back, but they've got that more freedom, they've got that more space, they've got that bit more like I say, that decay, that kind of more, bit more definition to it that this has. This is, I'm not doing it any justice. This is more like maybe people, you know, want a forward sound, want it in the room, more forward sound, more than maybe a bit more laid back when you compare against each other. This is more of a lively sound than maybe this if you compare them against each other, but I still think this is, you know, still giving out a decent sound. Like, I wouldn't call it boring or anything like that. Okay, so yeah, top end. I thought the top end was pretty much the same with these two speakers. You've got a little thing to turn back. I've kept them in the neutral position, but yeah, you've got a little control to turn. I've kept it in the neutral position in these, and I think they pretty much sound the same, the top end. Like I say, this probably maybe just add a little bit more airiness to it, because like I say, the speaker's got the airiness, the old feel, even the, like I say, the bottom end's got more airiness, not just the top end but the bottom, everything about it is more space kind of thing. So this has probably just got a little bit more airiness to it, shall we say, than this. Like I say, this is a bit more laid back on the sound stage, and this one here is more forward on the sound stage. This one gives more of a bigger picture, this gives a bigger picture, and this does. So if you imagine a widescreen TV you got, and you're watching a film or something, just feel like adding a couple of extra inches to your picture that way with this speaker, just getting that little bit, you're just seeing a little bit more, just hearing a little bit more of that sound stage with this. It's just like I say, it's got that bit more freedom, more space to it, this has, when you compare it to this. So yeah, what else have I written down here now? Going back to them forums, I'll just make sure I ain't missed anything here. From forward down to top end. One bloke mentioned the piano. I thought it was interesting. His sister played the piano. And this is what brought me to thinking about this actually. It's all about perception of sound maybe, because who am I to say how a piano should sound like, you know what I mean? How should the piano sound like? In my eyes and my head, should I say, in my brain, it should sound like this. Maybe not that I've heard many live pianos, so we're talking about people maybe that's giving views, and I'm giving views here, that's not heard these instruments. I've not heard these instruments live. I don't really know what they sound like. I'm percepting this is what it sounds like, kind of thing. Obviously we've heard it on the TV, I've heard it in like playing music, but how does actually the real instrument with someone sitting in the room actually sound like? And I probably don't know that, you know what I mean? I may have a vague idea, and to me this probably sounds more realistic than this sounds realistic. And not to actually go out there and you've got that trained ear and you're going to go and listen to it live and get a full picture about all these instruments should actually sound like. It's hard to kind of perceive. But anyway, this bloke's saying his sister is a trained piano teacher, she's been doing piano and everything else like that. So it kind of drew me to put a few tracks on with some piano. He reckons that his sister said that these A-35s, he had both pairs, these A-35s were more realistic. They sounded more like the piano than these did. So that got me going on to that. So I listened to it, a few piano tracks, etc. And I thought, not like I say, I'm not going to say I'm an expert, like I say, I know quite a bit about drums because I've been brought up around them kind of thing. But I thought it sounded better with these as well. It just that, you know, when you're hitting those notes, they had more of a decay. You could kind of, that string that's sitting had more freedom. You know, it wasn't so tight. It was like this is a bit more of a tighter piano, and this one was more bit, you know, had a bit more space, a bigger piano kind of thing. You could imagine the size of the piano rather than it shrinking a little bit with this one kind of thing. So you know, I kind of think that this probably did, in my opinion, sound better playing pianos and other instruments as well. Kind of just, like I say, a little bit more freedom, a little bit more space around it, a little bit more decay, that kind of stuff all helps bring it out. But like this to me, like I say, it's a bit more lively, a bit more in the room, a bit more of an exciting speaker, shall we say. It's a bit more of an exciting speaker, this. And this is maybe why it made it popular, especially in the 70s. You know what I mean, that kind of area where everything, like, it's got to be quite exciting, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff. So this is probably what makes this speaker more appealing to people, and that lower price. So I think that's why it's more popular speaker, and obviously sold with that kind of money, etc. And going back to that, it is a perception of thing. I'm just going to tell you a very quick story, bore you to tears, but it's a true story, and it's a thing you never ever see on these crime dramas. It never happens on the crime dramas because it's one of these things that probably happens once in a complete blue moon, but just a perception of how sound is. I'm just going to talk a perception, maybe how people look, you know what I mean? So that's my perception of sound, and your perception of sound is going to be different. And like I say, you may think, well, I prefer these, but they're both good speakers, this is what I'm going to say. But that perception of sound is pretty much the perception of how you see things. I remember getting held up many years ago. I used to work in a betting office, and a bloke come in there and held us up with a gun kind of thing. And Scotland Yard come down, I'm sure it was Scotland Yard anyway, they come down for a photo fit. So I had to knock up this photo fit, the bloke come down, and that's just my perception. You know, he's there about an hour or so to do the photo fit, and that was just my perception of how he looks like, you know what I mean. If you said how does so and so look, your description of him may be different to someone else's description. So that's why it's a bit hard for me to sometimes describe things to how you maybe feel they sound or look, kind of thing. But just going back on that story very, very quick, like I say, it's just a perception of sound, perception how you see things. It's your individual perception, I think, of different things that make you like and not like things, like, you know what I mean. And then, yeah, just going very, very, very quickly back to that story, something you don't see on the crime dramas, which was quite funny at the time. It's a bit unbelievable, really. I rang up the police because obviously I've just been robbed. So you ring 999, and I'm not kidding you, they got there within seconds. They must have passed the bloke who robbed it coming down the road, because it was only pretty much, well, there's two approaches to my street, but one of them was uphill, and I can't see someone running uphill. It was downhill, and that was the way that the police come, the 999 come. So they've turned up, and they're plain clothes, three plain clothes coppers. So they've turned up, and they've shut the door and everything, and they started saying, let's make a statement. So I started making a statement, and in the meantime, while they're waiting, they come within seconds, but in that few seconds I rung up someone, I said, I've just been robbed, I told someone, and put the phone down, and then they turned up, I let them in and everything, started taking the statement. I think I told my governor as well, so I told one of my mates and I told one of my governors very quickly, like I say, just been, I've got to go because the police are on their way, bosh, just to let people know what's happened, kind of thing. And I'm doing the statement, and the phone rang. It's me governor wanted to, no, tell her like, it was my mate rang. So I've got to pick up, said, I can't talk now, and the police said, we take that phone off the hook. We can't have interrupting. You're making a statement. This is before the photo fit bloke arrived. You're making a statement, we want a description and all that kind of stuff. So so I took the phone off the hook, and in the meantime we've heard a screech of brakes outside. About a minute or two later, a screech of brakes outside, and bang, bang, bang on the door, police. Now these were uniform police now. Like I say, I've got plain clothes in the office, and there's three of them and myself, so it's four people, and we've got a screech in a car. Then another car pulled up. I've got bang, bang, bang on the door. Coppers like in uniform. So I've gone to open the door. They said, oh, so it is, like, let them in. And they've come round, they're all standing in the shop, big shopish kind of thing. So I've opened the door, and as I've opened the door, they've run in, it's a true story, these uniformed policemen are running, and they've pinned up the other three blokes up against the wall. They've got hold of them, pinned them up against the wall, don't move and all that, like, it's a tough kind of thing, you know what I mean, no mucking about. And these police are going, hold on, we're CID, like, getting all their, trying to get their credentials out of their pockets from different directions and that, and showing them. So I could never understand why they didn't pull me, like, I'm the bloke who's opened the door, and they've run to these other three people that are already coppers anyway, and pinned them up against the wall, thinking that they were the robbers. Now, the reason they did that was because my governor tried to get in touch with me. And he said, I told him what had happened afterwards, obviously, and he said, what happened? He said, had you been robbed? He said, and all of a sudden the phone was off the hook, I couldn't get in touch with you. He thought, oh, I thought they'd come back again for more money or something else has happened. So I rang the police again, he said, and told him that I think you're being robbed again. And obviously they sent some more cars out, but they haven't communicated with each other. I just thought it was a funny story, like, you know, I mean, I still to this day can't understand why they didn't pin me up against them. One of the bloke was opening the door, why can't I be the robber? We all look pretty much, you know, all look pretty much the same. They were plain clothes, they were all dressed casually like me, like I was at work. How did they know I was the manager and these three people could be the culprits? And when, why could it be one of the culprits open the door and say, oh, that's him there, and being me the manager and running out down the road kind of thing? But anyway, but it's a funny story really like that. I just thought I mentioned it anyway, waffling on as usual. So so going back to these, after saying that, it is all to do with perception of sound, I think, and whatever. But like I say, I think these, you know, pretty much, and it's in their advert as well. Not that I really take a lot of notice of adverts because they say, oh, it does this, it does that, and whatever. But these give a more realistic sound of instruments of the actual track, whatever you're listening to, the recording that you're listening to. And I think they do. I think that, you know, out of the two, I perceive that these are the better sounding speakers. And I would prefer to use these. You know, if I had a choice out of the two, I would use these. Like I say, these are more lively, but I still prefer to use these if I want to get that more realistic sound. If I'm having a party or something like that, I'm not saying these are rubbish, that they're only a party speaker, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't use these because no one's going to benefit from that. No one's going to appreciate it, that's more realistic kind of sound. I want a more forward, a more lively sound, so I'd use these. And so if that's what you're after, a more lively, more of a forward sound, then these ones here. But if you're looking for a more realistic, maybe some people would say maybe more of a laid back kind of sound, though I don't think they're quite as laid back as maybe a few reviews I've read said they are, but I'd go for these ones, you know what I mean? So that's my opinion on these two sets of speakers. Just one other thing, I do like these speakers, as you probably gathered, and I'm going to keep them. And I think this kind of like tells you that I do like them. I bought spares. I managed to make sure I've got some spares, because I want to keep them. So now I've got, obviously, I want to take these, I can swap them over because they're the same units, etc. But obviously, I don't want to do that. So I've actually bought myself some spares now. I've got two of these. There's two boxes there, as you can see. These are the two drivers here. I managed to get hold of two of them, and they weren't expensive. I've done pretty well. They only paid £10 for two, so I'm pretty pleased with them. And I managed to get, I've only got one tweeter at the moment. I've got a spare tweeter as well. I've got 4 of these as well. So yeah, so if you ain't like anything else, if you think about something, some bargains come up, and I think I've done pretty well. That cost me £7. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with them. Not that I'm probably ever going to use them, but they're always handy to have a few spares of your speakers, especially if you see them on eBay and that, because you never know, down the line these may start kind of like farting, you know what I mean, when the coal kind of gets bunged up with a magnet, kind of catches the magnet inside. You never know. So if you've got a really nice set of speakers, it may be something worth looking at, you know what I mean, just getting a few spares from them. You may never ever use them, but when you're paying next to nothing, I mean, they can go more expensive than that, don't get me wrong. That was a bid up. No one was really interested at the time. No one wanted a spare driver probably. So I managed to get two, £5 each, that was a tenner, and this was £7. So I know I've done pretty, yeah, I've been pretty lucky when it comes to this Dynaco range of speakers at the moment. Okay, that's it. I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.